When I was younger, I was told, when a dog bites you, you don't bite back, every time I got angry. Now, this saying, while seemingly funny and harmless, caused me to believe that anger was an emotion meant to be hidden. Unfortunately, all too often, young girls everywhere are taught this very same message. Anger is meant to be repressed, anger isn't ladylike, anger isn't for you. Soraya Chemaly, in her TED Talk, The Power of Women's Anger, challenges this notion and posits anger is a valid emotion regardless of gender. The Power of Women's Anger by Soraya Chemaly. So sometimes I get angry, and it took me many years to be able to just say those simple words. In my work, sometimes my body thrums. I am so enraged. But throughout my life, no matter how justified my anger has been, I've always been led to understand that it was a misrepresentation, an exaggeration, that it'll make me rude and unlikable. Mainly as a girl, I learned as a girl that anger was an emotion better left entirely unvoiced. Now, think about my mother for a minute. When I was 15, I came home from school one day and she was standing on a long veranda outside of our kitchen holding a giant stack of plates. Now, imagine how dumbfounded I was when she started to throw them like frisbees into the hot, humid air. When every single plate had shattered into thousands of pieces on the hill below, she walked back in and she said to me cheerfully, "How was your day?" Now, you can see how a child might look at an incident like this and think that anger was silent, isolating, destructive, even frightening. Especially if that person who's angry is a girl or a woman. The question is why? Anger is a human emotion. It is neither good nor bad. It's actually a signal emotion. And yet, in culture after culture, anger is reserved as the moral property of boys and men. Now, to be sure, there are differences. So in the United States, for example, an angry black man is viewed as a criminal and an angry white man has civic virtue. Regardless of where we are, however, the emotion is gendered. And so we teach children to disdain anger in girls and women, and we grow up to be adults that penalize it. So what if we didn't do that? What if we didn't sever anger from femininity? Because severing anger from femininity means we sever girls and women from the emotion that best protects us from injustice. What if instead, crazy idea alert, we thought about developing emotional competence for both boys and girls? Because the fact is, we still remarkably socialize children in very binary and oppositional ways. Boys are held to absurd, rigid norms of masculinity, told to renounce the feminine emotionality of sadness or fear, and to embrace aggression and anger as markers of real manhood. On the other hand, girls learn to be deferent, and anger is incompatible with deference. So in the same way that we learn to cross our legs and tame our hair, we learn to bite our tongues and swallow our pride. What happens too often is that for all of us, boys and girls alike, indignity becomes imminent with our notions of femininity. There's a long personal and political tale to that bifurcation. In anger, we go from being spoiled princesses to hormonal teens to high-maintenance women to shrill, ugly nags. We have flavors, though. Pick your flavor. Are you a spicy hot Latina when you're mad, or a sad Asian girl, or an angry black woman, or a crazy white one? You can pick your stereotype. But the effect is that when we say what's important to us, which is what anger is conveying, people are more likely to get angry at us for being angry. And so men are rewarded for displaying it and women are penalized for doing the same. This puts us at an enormous disadvantage, particularly when we have to defend ourselves and our own interests. When my daughter was in preschool, every single morning she would build this elaborate castle, and every single morning the same boy would knock it down gleefully. His parents were there, but they never intervened. They were happy to provide platitudes. Oh, boys will be boys. It was so tempting, he just couldn't help himself. So I did what many girls and women learn to do. I preemptively kept the peace and taught my daughter to do the same. She used her words, she tried to gently body block him, she moved where she was building in the classroom to no effect. So I and the other adults constructed a particular male entitlement. He could run rampant and control the environment, and she kept her feelings to herself and worked around his needs. Now, that is a microcosm of a much bigger problem, because culturally, worldwide, we prefer the performance of masculinity and the power and privilege that comes with that performance over the rights and needs and words of children and women. So it'll come as absolutely no surprise, probably, to the people in this room that women report being angrier in more sustained ways and with more intensity than men do. Some of that comes from the fact that we're socialized to ruminate, to mull it over and keep it to ourselves. If men knew how often women were filled with white-hot rage when we cried, they would be staggered. We use minimizing language. Oh, we're just frustrated. No, really, it's okay. We self-objectify and lose the ability to even recognize the physiological changes that indicate anger. Mainly, though, we get sick. Anger has been implicated in a whole array of illnesses that were casually dismissed as women's illnesses. Higher rates of chronic pain, autoimmune disorders, disordered eating, mental distress, anxiety, self-harm, depression. Anger affects our immune systems, our cardiovascular systems. Some studies even indicate that it affects mortality rates, particularly in Black women with cancer. I am sick and tired of the women I know being sick and tired. Our anger brings great discomfort, and the conflict comes because it is our rules to bring comfort. There is anger that is acceptable. We can be angry when we stay in our lanes and buttress the status quo. As mothers or teachers, we can be mad, but we can't be mad at the tremendous costs of nurturing. We can't blame systems, patriarchal rules, or regulations. We blame them. We can be angry at other women because who doesn't love a good catfight? And we can be angry at men with lower status in an expressive hierarchy that supports racism or xenophobia. We should be making people comfortable with the discomfort they feel when women say no unapologetically. We can take emotions and think in terms of competence and not gender. People who are able to process their anger and make meaning from it are more optimistic, more creative. They're better problem solvers. They have more intimacy. They have greater political efficacy. Now, I am a woman writing about women and feelings, so very few men are going to take what I'm saying seriously as a matter of politics. But if it's that poison, it's also the antidote. The real issue is that societies that don't respect women's anger don't respect women. The real danger of our anger isn't that it'll break bonds or smash plates. It's that it shows exactly how seriously we take ourselves and we expect other people to take us seriously as well. When that happens, chances are very good that women will be able to smile when we want to. Thank you, Judge. That concludes my speech.